everybody, it's Chris from the Evermore podcast, Newcastle United podcast, and the Evermore YouTube channel. We're back with another Rumour Has It video where we're looking at some of the players linked to the club this summer, doing the rounds on social media through the journalistic leads and sources out there. Can't stress enough, this isn't ITK, it's just about players who are linked to us and our opinion really on whether we think those players will be good or whether we think that they won't be very good. So yeah, we're going to run through this in a minute. I'm going to go through the latest player that's been linked to us, which is a midfielder. So it's quite an interesting one to look at. But just before I do, a little bit of housekeeping. If you can, or if you haven't already, please consider clicking that like and subscribe button. We're over 1,000 subscribers now, so we're absolutely so thankful for this unbelievable growth in subscribers over the last few months. So thank you so much, everybody who's done it. Click the button, left some lovely comments. There's room for plenty more, though, so if you can please click the button, we'll try and get as many as we can do. I'd love to start the new season, closer to the 2,000 subscriber mark if possible, but we're not getting too greedy. But yeah, so smash the button, hit the bell, and then every time we do a video, it'll flash up and let you know that we're back on one of the Rumour Has It video. So let's get stuck into this player then. So as I said, it's a midfielder, and it's quite a decent midfielder that as well. So the player we're talking about is Ibrahim Sangare from PSV Eindhoven. So Mark's bashed up one of his brilliant stat slides as always. Now, unlike some of the other stats, this stat slide is not the top 5 European leagues in Europe, because the Dutch league or the Eredivisie isn't sadly one of those leagues. But we've got some real good stats in here, as you can see from Ibrahim Sangare. He's 24 years old, Ivory Coast International. He's 6'3", he's a big unit. Looking at him as a player in isolation before we kind of go through the stats, he's big, he's quick, he's got great feet. He reminds me a little bit, not to get too sensational out for the Lynchman's territory, but he reminds me a little bit of a Yaya Toure kind of style, the way he just gets the ball, he wins it back, he can beat 2 or 3 men, he can slip the ball through, he can score a goal as well when he gets in the right positions as well. So he's a real good player. Manchester United apparently been sniffing around him as well. So he's definitely, drawing some attention from the big leagues and the Premier League. So we'll have a fight on our hands to get this lad. But I think as rumours go, we're in a very strong position, us on Manchester United, looking at the player. So yeah, be very interested if we can get it. As you can see there, some of his key kind of, strength elements that Mark's ticked off. His aerial duels, there's a big unit. He's got a great leap on him as well. He's really good at passing, and tackling is unbelievable, as you can see there from some of the stats. So you can see there in terms of his pass completion, he's sitting around the 86% mark. Now, what Mark's done is compared him to Jonjo Shelvey on the right hand side, as you can see there. So in terms of his pass completion, you can see that he's ahead of Jonjo Shelvey in that element as well. Key passes, he's also ahead of Jonjo Shelvey in that as well. He's got 22 versus Jonjo's 60. Now, Jonjo's played really well for us, to be fair, since Eddie Howe's come in. But the reason Mark's drawn this comparison is that Ibrahim Sangare plays in a very similar position to Jonjo Shelvey, that kind of deeper line midfielder of a 3 if he was to come in next to Joe Linton and Bruno. So it's a real good kind of comparative measurement to look at there versus that player. Also with a defensive element, you can see Sangare's head and shoulders above Jonjo. Defense is never really Jonjo's strength, in all fairness to him. It's getting on the ball and making things happen with those killer passes. He has done a lot better in his defensive work since Eddie Howe's come in, but you can see there, the kind of the tackles made and the tackles won, from Sangare there, 95 out of 124. He's in the 76 percentile mark. You see there compared to Jonjo, who's only down to the 60%. So the true tackles, there's a new stat that Mark's put in. So tackles can be, logged, and stats can be logged in many different ways. But, you could go win a tackle, it could bounce off one of the opposition players and go back to them, and it looks like you've lost that tackle. So what Mark's done then is he's put all the tackles in one kind of category. So in terms of the true tackles one that Sangare's put on, he's in a 65% success rate there versus Jonjo's 43. So you can see he's a much better combative defensive player than Jonjo Shelvey is, and as Mark said there, he's fantastic in the air as well, which again isn't something that Jonjo's particularly good at. But listen, we're not going to slag Jonjo Shelvey off. He's been brilliant for us last season, and he's playing in a much more competitive league than the Eredivisie. But previously we've signed some players from Eredivisie. If you look at the Premier League as a whole, they signed a lot of players from there. I think Gini Wijnaldum came from PSV. He came to Newcastle, hit the ground running. He was absolutely superb. We were all shocked, couldn't believe we got this player for 14 million quid. So if Sangare could follow that kind of route, we could have a hell of a player on our hands. And to me, that's the player the midfield's missing for me. Somebody that can win that ball back, putting those tackles. He's got such an engine on him. He's box to box as Sangare if he wants to be. But just as a defensive midfielder, he's such an imposing figure, and he's so quick and he's so good on the ball. So when he wins it back, he can take a touch. He can beat 2 or 3 men. He can hold the ball up. He can flick it through somebody's legs and spin round them. He seems to have a lot to his game, does this lad. So I'm really excited if these links are true, because I think he'd be a hell of an acquisition for Newcastle United in the new project as well. So you can see there, just to kind of finish up his stats. So in the Eredivisie, he played 29 games. So that shows a good bit of consistency there. He's managed to stay fit for a large portion of the season. 3 goals, 2 assists, not bad for a defensive midfielder. Just killing them off there. These moths love the night light. They love the boogie as well. So you can see from the heat map there, he spends most of his time, obviously, just kind of inside the D, kind of defensively, and when he brings the ball forward, he kind of stops and slips it through the attackers, which is exactly what you want from a defensive midfielder. You don't want to get caught in our position too much. So the stats speak really well about this lad. And like I say, it's a position that I really think we should strengthen. I was quite surprised we didn't move for Basuma. I know there's a lot of off-field antics about Basuma. Maybe Spurs know something that we don't. And, potentially that's what they've got built into the contract there. But I think Spurs pay big money for the lad. I think it's 30 million quid plus, so it is big money. He's a good player, but looking at Sangare, he seems to have a bit more of his locker than Basuma. I think he can get forward and get goals. He's got a bit of that Sissoko pace about him that Sissoko had when he first came in. I remember that when he played against Chelsea, Sissoko, we thought we had the new Patrick Vieira on our hands. So yeah, it'd be very interesting to see what happens with Sangare. But let us know what you think in the comments below. If you'd be happy with that player. I think we have seen some comments from some of the guys on previous videos about this lad. So he is very, very well thought of in the world of football and European football. And I think it looks like he's ready to step up a level, and come to the Premier League. And I really hope that we see this lad in black and white shirt. But yeah, let us know what you guys think in the comments below. We always love to have a chat with you. We reply to as many as we can do. And as I mentioned at the start, if you haven't already, please click that like and subscribe button. And we'll be back on Wednesday with another Evermore as well. We're going to have a really interesting one, but it's all about financial fair play and what Newcastle United could or couldn't spend in this transfer window. So Adam Beckett's taking the reins as host, and he's got a fantastic guest lined up for that. So make sure you tune in for Wednesday, guys. It'll be an absolutely belter show. So until then, this is Chris signing off. Let's keep supporting that team of United. Have a cracking weekend, everybody, and we'll see you later. Cheers.